Hello and welcome back to my marathon series where I'm training for Abingdon Marathon on the 19th of October. On this occasion I'm going to be running for Welsh Masters against England Masters. So yes, those of you who follow the channel will know that in the past I've run for England Masters, but this year I decided to swap to my home nation of Wales. So in this video I'm going to take you through long runs. What are they all about? I'm also going to answer some questions that have been put to me from some of our viewers.
So yes, the long run. It is the cornerstone of any training plan, and in particular it's very important when you are doing long distance races such as the marathon and ultras. For me, it is the most important run of the week. There are many theories, many ideas, and many questions surrounding the long run. So let's dive in and have a little look at those. If you're new to marathon running, long runs, oh, there goes the train. If you're new to marathon running, long runs can cause anxiety. And in all honesty, even runners who are experienced can actually get quite anxious over their long run. Now, this is totally understandable, as you really have to respect the distance, especially as you're building up to those 20 milers. But I will say that there's no reason why your long run shouldn't be as enjoyable as any other distance. It's all about preparing for that run, what you do beforehand, and how you approach the run. Now, I've experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to long runs. But the good is because I've prepared well. The bad and the ugly will always have a reason, and that reason will always come down to preparation. Now, that preparation, when it goes wrong, could be because I've run too hard in the days leading into my long run, or I've not fueled and hydrated well enough. These are things that can be avoided. Now, I totally understand when we are marathon training, our legs are always going to feel slightly fatigued, but there is a balance to be had, and you need to find that. And the one thing you need to do is make sure those three things are priority leading into your long run. That's right. So you make sure that you're not too fatigued, you're fueled, and you're hydrated. And then I'm sure you'll have a wonderful long run.
So we have some questions from our viewers. So the first question is from Ian of the Iron Daily channel. What tips would you give to a new marathon runner who gets to that 36 kilometre run done in their marathon preparation and knows they still have another 7 kilometres to complete on race day? And would you ever recommend running a marathon in training? It's something he's noticed other marathon runners doing.
Okay, so there's two parts to this question, isn't there? The first is obviously about beginner runners or first-time marathoners who get to 35k. What's that in miles, by the way?
In English, I think that's just over 20 miles.
Okay, just over 20 miles. Well, what I would say to them is, firstly, when you're in the marathon, it's very, very different because you'll be tapered, your body will be fresh. You're also with other runners, and it is far easier to cover the distance when you're running in a crowd than it is on your own. All the time, I'll say that when you're in a marathon, you will complete it. Believe me, 26 miles is far easier to do when you are with a load of other runners.
And running a marathon in training then?
Yeah, well, I know many runners who do run marathons in training, and I wouldn't say I wouldn't say do or don't do it. I'd say it very much depends on your experience and what type of runner you are. I've run a marathon in training a few times, and I've found that sometimes it works and other times it doesn't. So I'd say it's very much an individual thing. No do's and don'ts here. You need to know yourself whether it suits you.
I can cut in here. I remember we both entered the Wolverhampton Marathon. It was about 2009. and Dawn found herself, this was a training marathon before doing Abingdon about 4 weeks later, and Dawn found herself in 4th, 3rd, 2nd. Guess what happened next? That's right, winner of the Wolverhampton Marathon and Abingdon.
Unfortunately, I ended up with a back injury and didn't complete the marathon, which was my goal.
So lots of factors to take into account. If you are entering a marathon as training, don't over race it, don't go too hard. I would say the faster you are, the more likely you are to get away with it, because you'll be spending less time on feet. Like if you can run a marathon in 2 hours 20 and your training marathon is 2 hours 40, it's a different proposition to if you're training for a 3:15 marathon and your training marathon is 4 hours long.
Yeah, and I certainly wouldn't suggest you do it if you're a beginner marathoner either.
Do you remember what happened 2 years ago when I decided to run a marathon as a training run?
Is that the one that
Let's remind the viewers. This was ranked one of the worst experiences ever. It's unwalkable, never mind unrunnable. Simon Watkinson, hi guys, please can you advise on how to avoid cramps in the long run? He keeps getting them 14 to 16 miles in, he's having electrolytes already. This is the first time Simon's trained for a marathon, so cramps on a long run.
So I have to say here, it's not something I have ever suffered with in marathons. So I'm not really experienced at being able to advise people on how not to get cramps. But one of the things I've read and I believe is that if you're an experienced marathoner and they say the fitter you are or the more miles you have, the less likely you are to get cramps. But I'm not sure if that's absolutely true.
If I could cut in here, one thing I found helped me in the past, or two things I found helped me in the past. One, drinking tonic water, flat tonic water at around 20 miles in a marathon. The other thing that helps massively is making sure your legs are strong enough. They might be cramping up, not due to electrolyte deficiency, which it sounds like you're already addressing, but it could just be down to lack of leg strength and leg conditioning. So it might be time to hit the gym. Next question is from our favourite newly minted sub 25k runner, Mark G, who asks, do you use long runs to test out the shoes and other equipment you'll be using on race day?
The answer to that one is absolutely yes. So I will wear my marathon shoes probably on a 6 miler, a 10 miler, and then I'll try them out on a 20 miler, and then I'll save them for race day. Although with my marathon shoes, they are the same ones that I've worn for 3 marathons previously, so I know they're absolutely fine. It's just that because they're a new pair, I just want to make sure there's no rubbing or anything on them. So yes, I definitely try out my shoes. My kit.
Have you got any new kit to try on?
Also, I was just thinking, so my kit, I have got my Welsh kit to try on.
You're running for Wales?
This time round, so I will at some point put it on to make sure there's no rubbing under the arms, etc. So yes, definitely we'll try my kit before I do my marathon.
Don't want any leaks, do we, running for Wales?
Don't be smart.
So a question from Tim Jones, who struggles to balance the time on feet versus the pace and the distance to run on long runs. It can get really complicated, kind of X at this, Y at that, Z of the other.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
So for myself, I don't tend to run by time. I know you do. I tend to run by miles. So again, I think it very much depends on your experience and on your pace. I will run up to 20 miles, sometimes 22 miles. These days, that will take me probably over 3 hours, but I will go up to about 3 hours 15 on my long runs as I get closer to my marathon specific sort of mileage.
And that links with a question from Donato. How long should the long run be? I know it's a topic he's discussed previously on his own channel.
And again, how long is a piece of string? It very much depends on the individual. So
depends how long the string is. If you buy a meter's worth of string, it'll be a meter long.
If you're an experienced runner and you have years of mileage behind you, then I think your long runs do tend to be 20 miles plus. If you are a new runner, you may not get to 20 miles. If you are a first-time marathoner, you may only get up to about 16 miles. Again, it very much depends on the individual. And if I was advising somebody, I would look at the whole picture of their training and their lifestyle. So it would be very much take everybody as an individual and decide what their marathon plan is going to be. However, you have to remember we're going to be running 26 miles. So, you know, you do have to have a good deal of time on your feet to be able to cover that distance.
And then also linked to the length and intensity of long runs, Matt from Run the Planet channel asks, how do you look at your outputs and where to put in harder efforts? And are you looking at any particular formula or metrics in your long runs? 'Cause I know he's very precise, isn't he? If you watch his channel, he's very precise about so much at marathon goal pace, so much at this effort, so much at that effort. Very meticulously planned, isn't it?
Yeah. Initially, I will be running my long runs just for time on feet and building up the mileage. And I don't care what the pace is, as long as the pace feels comfortable. I'm not going too fast, obviously. I don't look to run my long runs fast. I look to keep them in zone 2. And I'll do about 4 or 5 weeks at that until I feel comfortable running at a distance of at least 18 to 20 miles. Once I'm up to 18 to 20 miles, then I might look at putting in some specific marathon effort type sessions. I will do long runs, which end with maybe a few miles faster.
But it won't be, I must be doing 4 miles fast. It'll be when you feel you've got the energy to get to the end, picking it up, you'll do that. Yeah,
and because obviously throughout the week we'll be doing lots of other training as well. So it may be that during the middle of the week I've got a medium long run where I'm doing 3 times 2 miles at marathon effort. So if I'm doing that, I don't really need to do it as well on the Sunday. I can just go out and do time on feet.
Yeah, it's quite relatively modern concept, I think, because back in the day when I was doing marathons, your long run was just your long run. It was time on feet. And then you did your specific marathon pace work in medium long runs in the week. I got my fastest marathon off doing 2 sessions during the week where there'd be up to 10 miles of marathon or sub-threshold effort. And then the long run. I actually got my best marathon off running a 2 hour 20 longest long run, which was about 18.5 miles.
And for myself, my best marathon came off doing long runs of 20 to 22 miles at Run As I Feel, basically. And then I would do a run in the afternoon to make it up basically to 26 miles. So there was no marathon effort involved in it. It was about covering the distance, but in 2 runs.
The final question we had was from the Woo, from Will from nearby us in Sheffield. And again, it's about the time and intensity of long runs. He said when he finally cracked that sub-3 marathon earlier in the year, he actually found he did very little at marathon goal pace. When he did try and run at marathon goal pace in training, he found the effort too hard. And it's certainly something I found in the past. Run at marathon pace in the middle of a long run at the end of a long training week, you're really, really struggling, you're straining. So he just went for how it felt, just a slightly harder tempo in his runs. Is that how you approach it?
Yeah, mainly. I'm sort of, yes, mainly. I will say I'm going to do some marathon effort type running, but it may not be anywhere near what I think my marathon pace is going to be. But if it feels quite hard, in fact, what I can sometimes look at is my heart rate. And if my heart rate is getting close to what marathon effort is, then I know I'm at the right effort levels.
In fact, talking about sub-3 running, and Will achieved his sub-3 earlier in the year, the sub-3 marathon Facebook group, which is full of good advice, which arose out of the sub-3 group on the Old Runners World forums, was a phrase there, wasn't there? Which was, run as many miles as you can, most of them steady, a few of them a bit quicker.
All in the water in a minute, John. Thank you.
Well, that'll be good content. We'd like to see Dawn in the canal. Let us know in the comments below. No, yeah, there was a phrase that went along the lines of training for marathon, run as many miles as you can, most of them steady, some of them a bit quicker, and you won't go far wrong. And I think that's basically the approach you take, isn't it?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, there was another phrase, wasn't there, on that group?
It was, absolutely. Marathon training is not rocket science.
Add an F in there as well, it's not F, rocket science. Yeah.
I do believe you can make it as complicated as you want it to be, but at the end of the day, as long as you put in enough miles and you feel that you've done, you know, a good block of training, then basically you'll have the confidence to go into your marathon.
Yeah, as Dawn said, long runs need to have some elements of enjoyment about them. Yeah, you're going to be physically strained, but you don't want to be mentally in the pits of despair like I often am doing them. So yeah, put all the things in place to make sure they are an enjoyable experience. Going in fresh, going in fueled, knowing your route, having friends to run with if that's what you need, and having a purpose to doing them, because there'll be times you think, why do I need to be doing this? There's so many better things I could be doing with my time. But if you want that good marathon performance on the day, you've got to make those sacrifices.
Just to the gate and back.
Is this your recovery?
Yeah, I'm done. For 30 seconds. Yoo! Anyhow, yeah, so legs are obviously tired. This is my 70-mile week again, and the last 4 days has been quite tough. So yeah, the context of this long run today, as I said, legs are slightly tired because I tend to do my doubles at the end of the week due to work. So I've gone into this run with tired legs. So I set this in my watch as 10 miles warm up, and then 4 times 2 miles with half a mile recovery in between each 2 miles. I also set the paces for 7:30 to 8:30, giving myself quite a broad range. I thought I'd be happy with 8:30s going up because there's a gradient going up, and around about 8s coming down. And in all honesty, I mean, I haven't seen the exact numbers, but I think I was pretty much within that range. So I have to say, I wasn't particularly bothered whether I hit the paces. It was more about just putting an effort in on the second half of the run. And today I also wanted to practice running slightly harder while taking the gels I'm going to be taking in the marathon. So I also used my SIS gels to fuel myself all the way through. So yeah, a pleasing run. As I said, second half faster than the first half, and just 1 more 20 left to do.
So if you want to see how these long runs translate to a marathon performance, then please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.